After the Beatles broke up, they became much less accessible to the press and didn't grant many interviews. Yet you managed to get John on television in 1975 for an historic appearance. How'd that happen?
I had some help from the sales department at the radio station, WFIL Radio, and then I got on the phone myself and I talked John into coming down. He had troubles with the Immigration Service, which is a major part of this book, this battle to get him out of the country. And it was, at the time, was a secret campaign of surveillance. Now we know a lot more about it. And I told him that we were doing a helping hand marathon at the radio station and at the television station where I worked, Channel 6 in Philadelphia at the time. And I said, come on down. And he said, I'm going to do it. And I was so stunned to greet him at 30th Street Station, the main train station in Philadelphia, walking off an Amtrak train with a little overnight, like a gym bag with him. And he was saying goodbye to everybody, and he came out, he gave me a big hug, and I took him around town, talked about me being more popular than he was and all that business, and because I was getting very well known in Philadelphia at the time. I took him to Liberty Bell, I took him to the banks of the Schuylkill River, and then we entered the building that houses WPVI TV and at the time WFIL Radio, and he did hours and hours from Friday through Sunday on the air at this marathon. And then on Friday night, an amazing thing happened, as you're going to see right now in this video provided by Damon Sinclair, who used to be an editor there and is now a very well-known film producer. He had a handheld camera and he took pictures. John comes into the studio and the weatherman was off that night, and John said, can I do the weather? And there you see it. We can listen for a few seconds of John Lennon doing the weather.
We are about here. I had a stop to Scranton when I was 16, but Scott secured it. This is meant to be green, and this is the northwest wind, but if you do that, it falls off.
For Action News, I'm Larry Kane. Thanks for being with us.
Now, it wasn't a great weather forecast. In fact, I think we brought in somebody to do the weather after he was finished. I don't remember. But he was on set with me, and that weathercast brought thousands of people to the station over the weekend, because people said, he's really there, because the disc jockeys didn't believe he would be there. And you know what I found out? That in that weekend, John Lennon met more people one-on-one than at any time in his entire life, being shielded by security in all the concerts and everything else. And he told me later, he said, you know, I met more people individually. He probably met 1,000 or 2,000 people up close. Signed autographs, gave his socks away. They were pretty smelly socks, but he gave his socks away. They were red, white, and blue socks. Auctioned them off, gave pictures away, just had this great interaction with people. And it was such an up for him, because he had come off of the Lost Weekend. He had suffered tremendous alcohol abuse. May Pang had helped get him back on his feet. He was back with Yoko. She was pregnant. He was expecting a child. And this was his first real coming out. And it was just such a wonderful thing to see him enjoy that and to see the people enjoy it. There's so many teenagers that I interviewed who are now 40 or 50-somethings who have great memories of that weekend.
Was that the last time you saw John Lennon, Larry?
No, I saw him briefly in New York when I worked there as an anchorman. And I talked on the phone with him. He got very angry at me. I had made a career decision to come back to Philadelphia after spending a year and a half at ABC. And he called me up and we had another one of those airplane type arguments. How could you possibly leave the greatest city in the world for Philadelphia? And I said, well, I love Philadelphia. And that's where I want, you know, that's where we want our children to grow up. And so he gave me hell. And then I talked to him a couple of months before he died.
I can't imagine what it must have been like for you as a news anchor to report live on TV the shooting of John Lennon.
Well, it's only happened to me a couple of times in my life, where people that I knew intimately, well-known people, had died. And it was probably one of the hardest things I've ever had to do, because all the memories were flooding back. And also I had a lot of rage that night. I went on, I guess, about 10 to 12 with the bulletin. And, you know, when somebody dies naturally, it's upsetting. When somebody dies unnaturally, it becomes even more vivid in your mind. And it was just really just difficult to deal with at the time. And what a waste.